This episode is proudly presented to you by Willard Roofing Renovations of Middle Tennessee. They are veteran-owned and operated, and they do residential roofing, siding, and gutters. They also do leak detection, assessments, repairs, on top of free estimates and inspections. Matt has been in the roofing industry for 14 years, and he is a HAG certified inspector and prior adjuster. Most of the roofs they do come from insurance claims from storm damage, but of course they'll do out-of-pocket quotes as well. On top of that, he's got 5 consultants that go all over Middle Tennessee. So check them out. Thank you, and enjoy this episode. You good? Got everything you need?
Yeah, I think so. Check.
Ready, Blake?
Fuck yeah.
I'm ready to learn your journey now.
Oh, yeah.
I've been chatting away, telling you about my shit. Now it's time to know about you.
Sometimes I get a little carried away asking questions myself.
Hey, man, dude. I mean, you're a podcaster, though. So you know how it is.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun, man. It's weird being on the other side.
It is.
But it's
less pressure, though.
Yeah, exactly.
I get more nervous for mine than going on other people's.
Right? Yeah, I'll fuck up the intro like every time. I think the last one, my wife, was the best intro I did. But it's my wife.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But anyways, all right, let's do this thing. What is up, everybody? This is Joe Adams, and welcome to the Relentless Pursuit Podcast. What we do on this podcast is bring in guests and individuals from all different backgrounds, all different journeys to share their story and go in between all the avenues of their journey, and we leave nothing off the table. So if that is for you, check it out. If that's not for you, I don't know what your problem is. Find some inspiration and connect with these individuals and hear what they're about, because we get all different types of people on here. That wasn't too bad.
No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I slurred something, but it's all good. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our guest, the one and only Music City Strongman, Mr. Blake Harris.
Thank you.
What is up, my man?
Not a whole lot. Appreciate you having me out.
Dude, I'm stoked to have you here. I've seen you kind of all over the place.
I feel like we've been in the same places at the same time for a long time, so I feel like this is way overdue.
Yeah, it's about time. Yeah, I think what prompted this is the Nashville Fit, Music City Fit Expo. Mm-hmm. And you were like, dude, it's good to meet you. And I was like, hey, man, likewise. Let's get you on the podcast. And here we are.
Yeah.
It worked out.
Didn't take long if we actually talk about it.
Yeah, I know, right? It's a couple seconds, actually. But, yeah, dude. It's
your people talk to my people. And
I know, right? But we never talk. It's like, no, those guys, we got to keep them separated. Who knows? But anyways, Blake, well, it's good to have you. Like I said, let's just find out, just briefly, tell us what it is that you do now in your life, and then we'll take it back and dive into the rest.
Yeah, so what I'm doing right now, my main thing, the owner of Music City Muscle, a very inclusive strength gym in North Nashville. I'm also the host of the Music City Mindset Podcast.
Okay. Hell yeah. How long have you been doing those things?
Let's see, I've owned the gym for a year and a half.
Okay.
I've been a personal trainer for a long time. Been in and out of the fitness community, fitness industry for a dozen years at this point.
Okay.
I started at Mid-10 Nutrition. It was like a little mom and pop style nutrition store for supplements over on Elliston downtown. And from there, that's kind of how I got to know a lot of people here. I was in charge of, my job title was like community specialist, because I was the only one that was like from here.
Yeah.
So I'm born and raised in Nashville.
Hell yeah.
Didn't used to be an anomaly. Now I'm like a unicorn or whatever, but just the city's growing.
I can see it.
Yeah. But so I've done everything from nutrition, personal training. Now I actually own the gym. I've been doing podcasting a little bit off and on. I've been like a regular guest on some people's show, a co-host at times, and I always had an idea for my show. Mm-hmm. But then it was always like, I thought it was a good idea, but then like everybody and their mama had a podcast. Yeah. And then it was like, okay, let's do it. And then when you do it, it just seemed so oversaturated at the time of me trying to do it by myself. I'm just another white dude with a podcast.
Yeah. Talking about mindset.
Yeah. So it just seemed so oversaturated. But then I got to the point where people were actually asking questions and starting to take notice. So now my podcast is actually in the Nashville Fit podcast network now.
Oh, okay. You're in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard, Terry said they were doing something like that.
Yeah.
Creating like a network. So hell yeah, man. And when do you get that going?
We've started recording a couple episodes, just getting some in the hopper. Us in the biz. That's what we say.
What's all about? What's your podcast about? I guess.
Essentially, me and my co-host Dion Giddens.
Okay.
We're both from Nashville. Essentially, the easiest way to put it is, I'm never leaving Nashville.
Yeah.
I personally think it's the greatest city in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a little biased, but no one here is from here anymore.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna say and have any validation that it's the greatest city, but no one here is from here, then it's still about the people that are here. So why are people not from Nashville making this city tick?
Yeah.
How are so many people
point.
falling in love with the city of Nashville? How are so many people finding themselves and making this their home, when the idea for me of like leaving my friends and family and like cashing out my bank accounts and going where I don't know anyone to like try to make something work seems so much harder than like staying at home.
Yeah.
But so many people are doing it in every single industry here. So it's more sitting down with people, not about talking about their success now, but more about like the struggle of why Nashville.
Okay, cool. Hell yeah, man. I love that, dude. So you're committed to this city. Yeah, dude. So you got your roots planted. You're just going to let them grow deeper now.
Yeah. Every brand that I have has either Nashville or the word Music City in it somewhere.
Nice, dude. I love that, man. Well, I look forward to, hearing what you got going on, man. Podcasting's fun, dude. I tell you what, it is saturated. There are a lot of podcasts, but I look at my podcast, and to say I have 100 episodes out consistently, that's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very small percentage. Then once you start making hitting those milestones, you start to realize, oh, you're kind of separated from the pack.
Yeah.
And that's when it's not as saturated once you get up there in it. So, dude, I'm stoked to see what you got going on. But we want for everybody to get to know you. You are from Nashville. You need to be known as this guy that's is that hometown dude.
Yep.
So take us back a little bit. I mean, obviously, we already know where you're from. Nashville.
Yep.
Take us back to the early years, man. So born here, talk about your family and just kind of take us along the journey to where you're at now.
Family's a weird conversation right now.
Is it?
Yeah. I grew up with a pretty big family.
Okay.
But it wasn't that one side was really big. It was that, so I actually grew up in a town called Jolton.
Okay. I've heard of Jolton.
Yeah. It's actually a pretty big town, but people don't realize it because there's two parts of it. Part of it is in Davidson County. Part of it is not. It's in Cheatham County. So it's almost like two towns into one.
Southeast.
North.
Okay.
It's literally as far north into Davidson County as you can get.
Okay.
But it's still Metro cops that would come to the house.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
but they don't know the roads like we do. So that was fun. But no, like even my grandparents, who became my grandparents, all went to school together. So like my family that was made up of like my mom and my dad was like already one big family.
Okay.
So like Christmases, Thanksgivings, I mean, a couple dozen people minimum growing up. Very sports family.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm about to be 37.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I like it. I'm proud that I'm made it long enough to get old.
That's if more people thought like that. I'm like, dude, be grateful that you are another year.
But I mean, and I know who I'm sitting across the table from now, but like I would, and not that it matters. It's not like it makes any of us better than anyone else.
Yeah.
But when you've been through some like near death experiences, you look at aging in that luxury of, the gray hairs and
I do.
It's different than people who have, never been there and almost died.
Dude, I met two people within the past 2 weeks that told me their best friends died in Harley accidents. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that, but you could add me to that list.
Yeah. Oh, you almost did as well?
No, not me.
Oh, you had a best friend.
But a friend. Yeah, I was actually at a funeral a couple weeks ago from a buddy. He grew up on bikes. And then the amount of people that I know that have almost.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It makes it where I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah. So you do ride?
I have.
Okay.
But growing up as an athlete, two wheels weren't really allowed a lot.
Oh, okay.
Especially when you started talking scholarships and what my parents were investing into my athletic career and stuff. Kind of had to have 4 wheels down.
I hear that. Well, we'll get into the motorcycle stuff because that is an interesting topic, and it's just crazy when I do hear these things because it makes me.
Did you get tired of people telling you about people who died or almost died?
No, I don't, man. It just makes me that much more grateful. Like it fires me up because I'm like, well, fuck, man. Like there's really no letting off the gas because I gotta. There's other people that don't get this chance that I do, and here I'm able to do all the stuff that I do, even physically. I shouldn't be alive, much less like walking. Yeah. And so to be blessed with such an opportunity and to hear these things, it makes it that much more real. So it just sheds light on it more, man. And so now I don't get tired of it, but it does break my heart for people that have, lost them. Yeah. So, but as you were saying, so sports were big. Yeah. In that time frame. So what was your sports?
I played a little bit of everything, but it became very evident early on that I was pretty good at football.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of felt, looking back, that a lot of eggs were put in that basket.
Yeah.
For me to go that route, become a pro. And that was kind of what felt like my family's only opportunity to like change that perspective of us, generational wealth. Mm-hmm. Like I was the one that could do that.
Oh, really? So you were like a superstar.
I never was though. But if it was going to happen, it was going to be me figuring it out.
What position did you play?
When I was little, like middle school and younger, I played pretty much anything.
Yeah.
Just mostly defense, but all positions.
Oh yeah.
And then getting up to high school, I played offensive line.
Same.
But I wasn't the biggest guy.
Yeah.
But also wasn't the fastest. So we ran a wing tee. So I was like pulling out onto the edge a lot.
Yeah.
And then going from high school to college, I thought I was decent enough to get a scholarship and play O-line at 5'10", 205 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I got to college and was like, oh, that's an offensive lineman.
You realize how much they emphasize the size and the speed.
Yes. My my true freshman roommate was 6'7", 360.
That's it?
Yeah.
It's just a little bit bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. But I transitioned into fullback.
Okay.
Which actually from pulling guard to fullback really wasn't that difficult of a transition.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. I mean, it's like that. You probably look like Mike Allstott or something like that.
I'm like I said, I'm 37. So
that was the goal.
That was the goal. That was
he just looked badass, dude. I was like,
especially because I started dealing with concussion, so I had like the neck roll and the the sleeves. And
hey,
stuff.
The neck roll looked tough.
It did.
I don't even follow football much, really at all nowadays. But that was my love growing up. I played my whole life, all the way up into college. But I always had I remember Mike Allstott, man. I was like, dude, he just looks tough. I want to look like that guy and just run through people.
Yeah, dude.
So
he was a monster.
Yeah, he was, man. So, but I can't even name anybody that plays now, to be honest, except for I don't know, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Does he play?
He's done now.
Okay, so let's not talk about that. you quiz me, I would immediately fail.
Good thing this is your show.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's true.
You edit this. So.
Yeah. No, it's all raw, man. People are going to be like, that guy's an idiot when it comes to sports. And I'm like, yes, I am. But, well, that's pretty cool, man. So you had that whole dynamic growing up. Was there any other significant stuff during your time in childhood that really, I guess, molded you to who you are today, man?
I did grow up in church at the time.
Okay.
And I was always kind of a little bit of a leader in general.
Okay.
So we had a thing called youth council. So they would always pick a male, female representative of each class. Mm-hmm. And I was always the representative for our class of 2005. I got to do some really cool things. Yeah. Even some international mission trips. I was a part of a team called Holy Hands. Nice. We do interpretive movement. We're wearing white gloves in black light.
Interesting.
Yeah. But we did some cool stuff and went over to Romania and stuff like that, rebuilt some playgrounds, and we would do interpretive movement because of the language barrier.
That's pretty cool. You always hear about people going to Africa, but Romania, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was really intense at the time, a little dangerous. Yeah. But I mean, it did feel regardless how anyone feels about religion now, it did feel impactful like we did help people.
Yeah.
And making a difference in anyone's life is always rewarding and fulfilling.
Yeah.
So we would do like different, like domestic trips, international
That's
trips,
cool.
things like that. And to say that, to leave out that like church wasn't a big part of my identity and who I was growing up, I don't think would be telling the true story. I mean, it was definitely a big part growing up.
And so is it a big part now, or?
Not as much now, not the brick and mortar going, getting
Yeah.
involved, not so much now. I do have probably more, I probably do more investigation, more soul searching,
Yeah.
and have more conversations about it now,
Yeah.
than I did then.
Of course.
Not to say it wasn't authentic for me then, but the going to a church and like being a part of like the things I was a part of, and then helping with some of the audio engineering and like getting to see the behind the curtain with how things are ran by humans that make mistakes.
Yeah.
Being behind the curtain too long can kind of turn you off a little bit of being involved, of how it can be portrayed, especially because like I feel like our options aren't great.
No.
Like it's either an old, very old church with where I'm the youngest person there and it's super traditional, or it's some young modern one where there's laser light shows and it seems like the worship's like a afterthought.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And like I don't know that there's.
It's more about the presence and the show of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle of that, making sense of things in this world. I keep coming back to wanting that kind of relationship and that element in my life still. But I've just got to figure it out on my own.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, hell, I talked to a guy. I mean, I'm having a crazy guest on next week, man.
Yeah.
He talked about how he had to essentially separate himself from church. He's still got that relationship with God, but he's on his own journey. And he said it was really hard, and he's 62, but he's faced some crazy stuff. I mean, I'll tell you about that afterward. But yeah, I mean,
anything based upon faith is hard to really dissect.
Yeah. I think, it all comes from the heart.
Yeah.
Like my beliefs are what they are, and a lot of people like frown upon it because of what they've been taught through childhood, and that's okay. Like I'm not upset at them about that, but it's also cool to be able to kind of re-gear people's mind and understanding me and what I believe in, and being like, oh, it's not devil worship, or, black magic, because it's so far from. But
people get really scared about what they don't understand.
Oh yeah, but that's important.
I feel like people aren't able to zoom out enough to see a bigger picture.
Yeah, we all have an understanding from childhood and stuff. Based, we're conditioned to believe these things because that's what we've been taught. And just because someone conditions you to believe in that doesn't make it a bad thing. But but when you go through decades of your life to like searching elsewhere, it can be a very uncomfortable thing, and it gets a lot of people fired up.
It does.
But and it's become a pretty heavy topic on this podcast just because I do believe in what I do, and people ask about it or whatever the case is. It just happens to be natural. But yeah, I love talking about that because I want to open people's minds and hearts too.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like some part of like religion seems so entitled because it's like, why am I supposed to think that like this little podunk church in Jolton, Tennessee, because I was born in Jolton, we got it right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying they're wrong, but like there are people that think that they're the only ones that got it right.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I mean, I went to a Church of Christ school.
Mm-hmm.
So like to try to understand how they think. Yeah, I grew up Baptist and went to a Church of Christ school, very starch.
Yeah.
Church of Christ school. And to try to understand that, but also be made to feel like I'm the outcast.
Yeah.
Was not always fun.
Of course. I think there's nothing wrong with feeling like in your heart that you're right for you.
Yes.
But the problem to me is when you think other people are wrong. But hey, they're just following their heart.
Exactly.
So what if they told you were wrong? You would get defensive.
Right.
But this is one of those things. Yeah. So it's like
whether we're talking religion, politics, whatever the things
even
that
fitness.
Fitness. People they don't allow it to be a two-way street.
No.
I like a dynamic where I can think what I think and believe what I believe. But in order to enjoy and enhance that atmosphere and that dynamic, I've got to allow other people to do what they do and believe what they believe at the same time.
And then people start to come together. and actually get along.
Yeah, and find the common ground instead of so focused on what separates us, which just divides us even more.
Yeah, more and more. Oh, man, it just gets crazier and crazier. And I'm like, chill the hell out, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, just have a conversation with somebody.
Yes.
And you can actually find a lot of similarity there. It's a beautiful thing. Well, I'm going to dive into some of these topics too. But we're still on your journey.
Yeah.
So sports were a big thing. Where did you go to college at?
Tennessee State.
Nice, man.
Yeah, so I went to high school in Madison, and then played ball here in Nashville at Tennessee State at the HBCU.
Oh yeah, man. And did you play all 4 years or?
Played redshirted my first year, but played a little bit, but stayed under the minimum. Played a little bit my second year, and then that's when I started getting into a lot of trouble. Yeah, and then kind of messed that situation up. Transferred to Austin P for a year.
What kind of trouble?
Mostly drugs.
Dude, I went through the same thing first year before I went in the military.
Yep.
Pills, man. That was my thing.
So pills were there, but they weren't the main thing getting me in trouble. A lot of it was just weed at the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people kind of run into that problem at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that I associate with. But
I was almost being too hyper realistic in the fact that, like, I had been told, even in high school by high school coaches, that the idea of me playing college ball was far-fetched.
Yeah.
So when I got there, not only got there, but got to a D1 school with guys that were first-round draft picks, like high-caliber guys, like, it was hard not to, in that moment, think that this was it.
Yeah.
And I partied like that was it.
Just to kind of like not focus on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was going to be over soon. It wasn't going to continue. So why am I going to keep investing into something that is going to ultimately be a dead end and not enjoy what's right here in front of me?
Yeah, man. A lot of distractions.
Yes.
Yeah, man. And I want to talk on that, but one thing I did want to highlight too, you talked about bringing it back to like your childhood and, you know, being involved with the church. I didn't want to leave out the fact that did influence you in a lot you got to make an impact. You got to make an impact. And that's the greatest thing you can do is help people. And so you understand the importance of that now, having experienced that on being hands-on like you were, you know, and then you got to see the behind the curtains and you got to like really understand a lot more things than maybe a lot of people ever do really involved with church growing up.
I've just lived in so many different versions and chapters of my life that like each chapter couldn't involve the previous one.
Yeah.
But who I am now with the way I'm running this business, the way I'm trying to build my own brand, I've had to pull the best out of each chapter. Mm-hmm. And when I was in the church a lot, I was doing a lot of public speaking, competed at Bible sword drill. Damn. I was even like did competitive public speaking in high school and things like that. So now getting into this brand, talking into microphones a lot more frequently, talking to the classes and the members at the gym, it helped me to channel this chapter that I didn't really talk about a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But that one part of it to help me with like my public speaking and being in front of people and that confidence there really helped.
Hell yeah. A couple different things I want to touch on. One being the public speaking thing. Obviously, like public speaking, running a business is a crucial aspect of that.
Yeah.
I've got an event I'm speaking at in TSU in November, like 500 people, which is pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But I respect it too. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people, and I got to get there and just tell my story and be myself. That's all I'm going to do. But, you know, obviously doing podcasting and stuff makes you comfortable, but it's a whole different world when you're in front of a crowd. Even like
in your mind, you could be talking to the hundreds and hundreds of listeners.
Yeah.
But it's still a one-on-one conversation.
When they're all looking at you.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So this is easy. You kind of forget the cameras are there in a way. So you talked about the benefit of that, man. Like, I mean, I don't know. I guess teach me some things. Tell me about that because it's very important. It's something like I want to improve. So what all did, I guess, that public speaking, what all did that teach you in order to use that now in your life?
It just helped me with confidence of my voice.
Yeah.
I mean, I think whether we're talking to clients, a class, I feel like maybe not the biggest fear, but a big fear is not sounding dumb.
Oh, yeah.
You want to validate your their decision to even give you a microphone. So it really just helped me find confidence that I deserved to be the one with the microphone at that particular moment.
Of course.
And I think it was a lot easier. Like when I got into public speaking, it was usually like reading excerpts.
Yeah.
So it wasn't anything I wrote. It was just how I presented it.
Yeah.
And then speaking at some of the camps and stuff we would go to, the crowds got bigger and bigger and bigger. But when you kind of had, I don't want this to sound negative, but when you had the crutch of religion and being at a camp, even if you were being goofy or whatever, all in the sake of the name of the Lord,
Yeah.
then like it didn't really matter how you sounded.
Yeah, of course. And that makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So it kind of had a crutch that like, even if I sounded dumb, if I'm dumb for the Lord.
Yeah, if you're going to talk about like neuropsychology,
Right.
you need to know your terminology and shit.
Yeah, this was usually like hyping people up before a friend was going to perform or something. So it was like very basic, but it gave me that platform where I think the biggest crowd that I've ever done it from was like probably a couple thousand.
Damn.
But it was literally just getting people hyped.
I picture you like what's his face on The Office when he does the speech and he's like hitting the table. Dwight.
Yeah.
And he just hypes everybody up and he sees them getting hyped and he's like, okay, he just yells more pretty much.
And back then my best friend was a rapper. And so then it kind of, I don't even remember what I said. I was just getting people hype, and then the beat dropped, and we had like water bottles with like the tops barely on, you know, like Little John style. Yeah. For Jesus. So, but taken away and like what I've channeled in the chapter I'm in my life that I'm in now is the fact that I was able to do that.
Yeah.
And because it was kind of coupled with the religion aspect of it, that who I was in my youth group already validated that, especially in those situations that, you know, I'm a son of the Lord. So, you know, it's,
of course. So
then like they didn't really care.
Yeah.
So then that allowed me to be, at that point, it was just who was not afraid to do it. And I think I was born with something that in most instances does not allow me to be afraid.
Yeah.
When most people, it's not that I'm not afraid. I'm still scared.
Yeah.
But I have the ability to not show it and still continue.
Of course.
And I've tried to use that.
You like turn off that.
Yeah.
The emotion of that, I guess.
Yeah, because I think fear stops a lot of people.
No doubt.
But if you've ever done something that's a little scary, that adrenaline.
Yeah. Dude, trust me. Yeah.
Yeah. So the impact of the adrenaline of doing something scary outweighed how afraid I was. So
I can relate to that.
So if I had to do something that was a little bit scary, but I got some adrenaline from it, I'd rather do it for the adrenaline than to not say I didn't do it because I was too afraid.
Yeah, you're just like, you want that pump.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was adrenaline junkie all growing up.
Of course, same for me.
I mean, sports, BMX, Tony Hawk.
Doing like jackass videos
Travis
with your friends.
Pastrana. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
BMX tricks naked. I don't know why.
I mean, my friends and I used to do weird shit like that too.
Yeah.
But it was a blast.
Oh, it was such a blast.
It was very stupid.
Yeah, very, very stupid.
But hey, we're here.
Yeah, I think the third time I got pulled over after getting my license, I had put my cruise control on my Blazer like right at 100. And I had a suicide knob, you know, the tractor knob.
Yeah.
I had one of those. And when I actually got pulled over, I was actually like standing on the running boards outside, holding on to the luggage rack with one arm inside, holding on to the suicide knob.
Let's just do that.
Yeah.
Let's go do that now.
Well, I got in trouble. Got put on some crazy probation and had to plan my own funeral for the judge.
I get that. Yeah. I have fun.
Yeah.
It's been a kid. That's kind of part of it.
Yeah.
So we always do risky shit. Hell yeah, man. I love that. So just basically channeling that adrenaline through the fear.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, I feel like essentially everybody that's an adrenaline junkie does that. They kind of like just it's almost like looking at stress differently, looking at the fear differently, looking at that emotion as something that can only take you to another height.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think another part of it that I think I didn't realize it until being older in my life, but something that I think I put together in my head even as a young kid is that the people that I saw doing something great Tony Hawk, Travis Pastrana, Brett Favre, whatever it was at that moment, there were so many people watching.
Mm.
And so it was one of those situations where, like, you can meet people that are, like, afraid, really talented and skilled, but when people watching them, they shut down.
Yeah.
When the pressure's on, they shut down. So it kind of seemed like the difference between good and elite was the ability to do it when the pressure was on.
It's like those, yeah, it's like they got that switch.
Yeah, when the lights are the brightest. Who are you, one that pulls something even better, or are you the most skilled one in the room but you can't perform when that moment's on?
Yeah, man. It's crazy to think about. I mean, you look at entrepreneurs and stuff like that. I analyze the same thing in my position now. You know, that one big name, I look at Andy Frisella a lot.
Yeah.
I see where he's at, and I'm like, dude, and I listen to things he says, and I find that, like, holy shit, like, all the things he's faced, he's basically talking to him, a younger version of himself.
Yeah.
Like, I can connect with every one of those things.
Absolutely.
But look, nothing against him, but, like, why can he get there and I can't? He just kept going fucking forward.
Yeah.
And he just believed in it. And
Exactly.
that's what I do.
He just kept doing it.
Yep. And he believed. And that's what I tell my.
And when the pressure got on and you had to do it in the right moment.
Yeah.
Can you do it? You mentioned Tom Brady the other day.
Yeah.
Or earlier.
Yeah.
The other day. How long have I been?
We're on the phone.
Yeah. I just saw our legs kicking in the air,
Yeah.
chatting on the phone. No, you hang up. But like with Tom Brady, I mean, what he was doing in Super Bowls and stuff like that, there were probably quarterbacks more talented than Tom, but when the pressure was on and the lights were the brightest, he was able to do better than when them people would, like, kind of shut down and get paralyzed by that pressure.
Because he's always forced himself into discomfort too, though.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about that as well.
Absolutely.
Force yourself, put your back against the wall, like,
Yes.
voluntarily.
Create those positions, like that pressure. Create those moments.
Yeah, and you learn how to adapt in those moments. I mean, it goes back to, like, the whole cancellation thing. I don't want to get off on that tangent, but, you know, I've had a lot of people say, like, man, a lot of businesses would have shut down from that.
Yeah.
And I just looked at it as a fucking challenge. I'm like, all right, guys, let's turn it up. You know what I'm saying?
Because if you can come out of this,
Yeah.
then you, how do you not go into the next one feeling like stronger?
Yeah.
That you know what to do.
Yeah, it's already lifted me up. I've already, like, turned it into an advantage. So I'm like, hell yeah, dude. I mean, it's just a thing. But a lot of people be like, shit, we're done. You know?
Yeah.
And it's
Too hard.
Yeah, it's something good to analyze, man. So it's cool that you learned that at a early age. And that's really benefited you moving forward in life.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, it was also probably part of what was almost my downfall, because I wasn't afraid.
What would that almost your downfall be? Is this when in college with the whole, like, getting in trouble thing?
Yeah, because even after college, it was so back in my day, when I was in college, you weren't allowed to have a job as a scholarship athlete. And I know this is going to sound like excuses and everything else, but, like, the rules were, if you were a scholarship athlete, you weren't allowed to have a job. You weren't allowed to make money.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah. Now, especially now that college players are multi-million NIL deals.
Don't get me started on that.
That's all. Pay them, but, like, whoa.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah. Anyway, so at a time when I was partying really heavily, I was kind of getting a little notoriety, and people were starting to, like, think it was cool to, like, party around me, and I wanted to be, if we were lifting, I wanted to be the strongest. If we're partying, I wanted to do the most. If we're snorting, I wanted to do the most. Like, I wanted to be better than everybody at everything. I was competitive, and I took that to drugs as well.
Yeah.
And then in that same situation, my parents that were in the housing market, the mortgage industry, when the crash happened in 2008, they lost their jobs, and we're trying to figure it out. And they were in the process of trying to filing the bankruptcy, trying to keep the house, keep our stuff. You had people from the church, people in our family that were, like, either taking loans out or putting things on this, giving us that to try to, like, make it where we weren't going to lose our house.
Yeah.
And I felt so helpless because they'd put so much time and money into me to be this athlete.
And you wanted to be able to help them.
And I wanted to be able to help them, but I'm not allowed to if I wanted to stay the athlete. Plus, I've kind of already been fucking it off a little bit by partying the way I was partying.
Yeah.
And so it was like,
Oh, and that guilt there.
Yeah. And a lot of guilt. And so it's like, what can I do to help? How can I make some money? Even if it's just how can I make my own money where I'm not relying on them anymore?
Yeah.
But not allowed to have a job. And that's very much an excuse. It does not justify what I started doing. But actually getting into like dealing drugs, didn't have the money for that. So that turned into kind of like robbing drug dealers to get drugs, to sell drugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't grow up that way. I didn't grow up Section 8 projects, things like that.
No father figure. Yeah. Just all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I grew up in a very Christian family. So this was me choosing to do this. And it really wasn't even the only choice I had, but I realized I was good at it because I wasn't afraid.
Of course.
And there was still some of that adrenaline, but I liked the adrenaline.
Yeah, you're like, oh, that's a risk to this. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely like, a little bit of a victim mentality of like, well, I can't have a real job.
But at the end of the day, right now, the main thing is too, though, is like accepting responsibility for your choices.
Yeah.
You're not blaming anybody else now. You're like, that was all my choice.
That was what was hard. It was because I knew what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah.
But I was choosing to do it anyway.
Reminds me, dude, I was in very similar boat, man. It's crazy that you say this stuff because like I felt the guilt from like fucking off during college. So I started doing sketchy stuff. One, to pay for like the drugs I was getting, but two to like, just be able to do things and not depend on them.
Exactly.
And I felt bad because they gave me such a beautiful opportunity. I wasn't raised like that. I was raised in a Christian household as well. I made all my own choices. Yep. But it's also like finding the value in all those negative choices. You learn from them, dude. It's all lessons. Yeah. You're still here standing, so you didn't get killed or anything.
Definitely some close calls and stuff like that. But yeah, it was definitely, if you're lucky, I mean, I think luck's involved in some of it, but I've been blessed to live long enough to even be able to look back at my mistakes to learn from them.
Well, so what would you say is the shift from that place you were in that changed your life, I guess you could say?
I've told the story a couple of times, but not very often, and probably not on this public of a platform. Things were probably at its worst, and I had a friend of mine tragically pass away. He fell off of a rope swing that I helped build. Now, this was years later. We had this rope swing for years. And it wasn't a rope swing like you let go and splash off into the water.
Yeah.
No, like you had to keep holding on to it. It went like off a cliff, and it was set up to where you could carabiner different attachments. So you could like clip a skateboard onto it. You could clip a harness onto it and ride a bike.
Yeah.
That was my favorite because you'd wear this harness. It was like a hunting harness. Yeah. Clipped to this rope, and then I'd just ride this bike off of this cliff, and then the rope would catch, and then you're swinging, and when it swing out, you're 60 feet up in the air doing BMX tricks. I'm like grinding on 2x4s that are way up in the trees.
It sounds like a blast.
Oh, dude, it was so much fun. You could just jump off of it with the harness. A lot of people really liked the skateboard attachment.
Yeah.
But so we'd had this for years. Couldn't tell you how many times I fell off of it.
Yeah.
Fell off, doing it drunk, partying.
You flew and like fell 60 feet?
Not, I never from the top.
Okay.
But like sometimes like when it would catch, you kind of had to brace yourself, and if you're a little too intoxicated, you wouldn't grip,
Yeah.
And we all fell. We'd swing, miss one ledge, and then like crash into a tree. Like I had a buddy who's from his knee up to his armpit was just black and purple.
But usually everybody just got pretty jacked up. That's it.
Yeah. And then one night, a guy was fishing on the little man-made lake out there. He's telling his buddies about it and wanted to show it to them. He did it, tried to get them to do it. They wouldn't do it. He did it again, tried to get them to do it. And he did it one more time, and at the top, he fell. Damn. And the people around him didn't really know how to handle that. And so there was a lot of like self-sabotage, a lot more drugs, and he was a little bit younger than me, like a little brother.
Yeah.
And he had a whole crew of friends around him. They were just devastated. And there was a night where they called me. they wanted me to bring them some things over to where they were. They were partying and they were almost out. And so I was like, all right, yeah, cool. I'll swing by. And then they told me where they were, and I was like, whoa, they were at his house.
So they were partying at his house without him there.
Yeah. His parents were there, but they're just still in shock.
So they were like basically abusing this space.
Yeah, a little bit. And it felt weird, but it was like, all right, well, I'm going to get this money, so I'm going to drop these drugs off. And so I went there, and they were like, hey, we're about to roll one up. You want to stay and hang out? We're about to light a fire or whatever. And I was like, I kind of looked. His parents were in there watching TV. He had a little sister. And it was like, hey, y'all hit me up if y'all want to get out. Y'all can come over to my place, whatever. Like, I'm probably going to get out of here. Like, oh, come on. And I was like, nah, I'm good. So I started leaving. And it was dark, and I was walking to my car. I had an old 72 Pontiac at the time. And his mom came out there. Never really met her. She's like 4'10", little lady. And all of a sudden, she was like, hey. And I turned around. She's like poking me square at my chest. She's like, I don't know who you are, but I know you. And I know that all these young boys around here that I helped raise, they look up to you. And since Hunter died, I haven't been able to sleep one wink because all of these boys that come from good homes and good families are making worse decisions because Hunter died. And that's what keeps me up at night, is that it seems to have brought upon negativity. And she was crying, and she was like, so I don't know what you can do or what you want to do, but if one person could change and do something for the positive, I might be able to get a little bit of sleep at night.
Dude.
I sobbed the whole way home. Yeah. I was already feeling weird about showing up. I went home and I flushed over $1,000 worth of pills. About a week ago, we'd jacked somebody up for about 3 gallons of pills. And I flushed mine and then some, and pissed a lot of people off. But I pretty much decided at that moment that, like, I've been knowing the way I was living was wrong, but choosing to do it anyway. And now I'm at that point, I choose to not continue to invest my time and money into negativity.
Holy shit, man. That's you had that feeling for a reason going there probably. Yeah. And then that conversation with her, you decided to wash your hands.
Yeah.
Man, talk about like a insane circumstance though.
Yeah.
Maybe if you would have hung out, she wouldn't have had that conversation with you.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different things of like what ifs.
It's fate, dude.
Yeah.
It's fate. Like, you heard that, and that's damn, it's just so crazy because you think about these situations and it's sad that he passed, right? But it led to you becoming better.
Yeah.
When you got to use that.
Yeah.
So.
And I would say I'm trying to do the most with that, because the thing I struggle with the most, and it's a terrible combination, but is combining survivor's guilt with a little bit of imposter syndrome. I did worse shit than anybody. I pushed the limits on what my body could handle, what I could do legally, like everything. I pushed more than anybody else around me. Yeah. But out of that circle of like a close friends there, sometimes it's better than others, but I deal with like, why did I become the one that could be who I am now and elevating on a platform and owning businesses and having brands? Everyone else either passed away, went to prison, in and out of rehabs where they have to like work at a church now, or like, damn.
Yeah, I get that. With my accident stuff. I mean, it's like one of those things that gets in my head like that as well. But you can sit there and ask why. You're never really going to figure it out.
No.
All you can do is just be better.
Yeah.
And you've done that, man. I mean, you've made that choice, and you're not who you were then. And that's a good thing, but you also gained a lot of value from that time of your life. You learned a lot about yourself. you know, and you got experience and you got to survive it.
That's the knowing myself. I think you just hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
I feel like, yes, I made a lot of mistakes. I have done a lot of illegal things. I have done brought on a lot of negativity and pain into other people. But coming out of that and living a life where I'm trying to put as much positivity in the world as I can.
Yep.
I can say that because of those dark times that I know who I am.
Yeah.
Because I've had to live with myself at the peak of everyone celebrating me because, you know, we're winning championships and I signed a pro contract, or, you know, we're doing international mission trips and like all these hype, like accomplishments.
Yeah. But
I've also had to deal with myself behind closed doors in the darkness.
Yeah, man, I feel you there, dude. It's there's so much freaking value there, though.
Yeah.
I mean, knowing yourself from those situations, I've had people be like, "Oh, it's not my fault. You did all these dumb things," and I'm like, well, I'm not upset about those dumb things. Like, I'm grateful I experienced those things. Yeah. It all led me to where I'm at today. It all, you know, it's all beautiful lessons, as dark as those times were.
Yeah.
And that you seem to, I mean, you're looking at it the right way.
Mike Tyson said it, like, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, facts.
So if you've never been punched, you don't really know who you are.
That is the truth, man. Yeah, everybody needs some. Somebody said something to me.
It's like, I don't want people to have to be held up at gunpoint.
Yeah.
But at that point,
in there as well.
If you have a gun on you, who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Are you going to do this move like everybody says they're going to do? And like,
yeah.
You know, yeah. No, and that's the whole thing, man. I mean, hell, I was told one time they were like, you know, they told me somebody told them, they said more people need to have near-death experiences.
Yeah.
And I was like, you don't want everybody to get hit
by
a car.
No.
But what you gain from those things is what can truly teach you just the value of life. And to me, essentially, we're trying to like just help impact people. The value in life is other people, and
100%,
and how you affect them.
100%.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. I think like my destiny is to impact people. Everybody around me is what creates value, and so the more I can shed that light, and you're heading in that direction, man. And that's just a crazy revelation to have. Have you spoken to his mother since?
Oh yeah.
Okay, and
very closely,
so,
like multiple times. I'll usually like call her on Mother's Day. Like,
what have you told her, like, as far as like that moment?
Oh, I mean that I owe her a lot to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Because she's actually talked about like the fear of like, she had a good idea of why I was there. So you got to think about it from her standpoint of, she wasn't kicking me off of her property.
Yeah.
She wasn't telling me, don't you come around here. She was just kind of trauma dumping on the local drug dealer
and delivering a powerful message, obviously.
Yeah. That, I mean, you know, she didn't really know what the outcome was going to be, but she was just had to do something because things were getting worse, in her opinion.
Yeah.
But I'm just nothing but gratitude for her.
All right. So we're on our last segment here.
Yep.
You know, you got to get places. Too cool for me. We talked about, you know, that really significant turning point with your friend's mother and how that impacted, how the impact that had on you. You dumped the pills, you stopped, you washed your hands. Fresh start. And you're grateful for that. So from then to now, where are you at? I guess what was the next step moving forward from that situation?
I mean, there's still so much that happened in between that, but I'd say after that, I just started approaching life differently.
Yeah.
I started looking at situations as, instead of how can I dominate this situation? Like, what is this opportunity? How can I like use this to better me, better the situation, instead of looking about like the financial gain or, you know, especially like, I would say the biggest thing, like dropping drugs out of my life for a while. The biggest change is how I started looking at women as like, instead of being like, oh, well, this female's being flirty. Well, I know how this is going to go for the night. Yeah. Then like, what happens if I just start looking at that differently?
Yeah.
and treating a female differently from the beginning, not just assuming a one-night stand.
Yeah.
Like, what happens if I start looking at that differently? Well, then I actually ended up dating someone.
Yeah.
Ended up marrying her. So like that was an example that like all I need to do is look at the situation differently. Be a little bit more patient.
Switch your perspective just a little
Exactly.
bit.
Use the things I've been through to be able to look. And if I want something different out of my life, then treat it differently than I would normally want to do it.
Yes.
So it's almost like I know how to do things one way, and that brought negativity. If I want positivity in my life, let's think about how I would normally react to this and do the opposite.
Yeah, so basically taking everything that you looked at for this period of time and looking at it the opposite.
Yes.
From an opposite side. Yeah.
But still trying to hold on to like that lack of fear, especially like falling in love. I mean, that's scary.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm still trying to hold on to attributes of things I've gained along the way.
Of course.
But not bringing all of the negativity with me.
I think that's very important because, but it's cool for you to see that all the positive stuff within yourself from that period of time.
Yes.
You shouldn't just completely change into a different person.
Right.
You know, you're changing
but
all
that was the normal defense mechanism.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, well, let's just shut it off.
Yeah.
Each chapter. It's like, you know, when I started diving into things with some crime and gang relations and things like that, I didn't want them to know that I went to private school. My parents were still together. And, you know, I had this whole religious life before them.
Yeah.
You know, but then after that is when I started getting my opportunities with arena football and playing a pro level of football.
Nice.
But I didn't want them to know I was out here gangbanging.
Yeah.
So it's like anytime I switched, it's like I had to leave everything behind.
So that was a hard lesson. That was hard to kind of work around along the way.
But when I started treating things differently, I ended up in a good relationship. That relationship, that marriage did end, but it proved to me that if I approach things differently, I could get a different outcome.
Yeah, you can have something that's sustainable.
Yeah, so I don't have to be the victim here and just be like, well, this is the only thing that I have available. Now I can start like, oh, if I approach it different, I can have a different outcome.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I ended up in a good relationship at that time. I ended up actually getting the opportunity and playing professional football. Nice. But I had to kind of stop, you know, even anything that I gained from anything I was doing out on the streets. Yeah. I had to like just completely stop that. And I'm a different person now.
Yeah. Yeah. No, trust me. I tried that and it's a train wreck.
And that also was not sustainable.
Yeah.
Especially then stepping away from drugs and alcohol for a while, but then kind of coming back into it. You get a couple of drinks in me, I'm still going to, you know, take my shirt off at the DJ booth. Like.
Hell yeah. Well, that's the thing is trying to like, I guess, turn yourself into somebody you're not.
Right.
Ultimately leads to like a bad end.
Yeah.
So how do you avoid that? Like take the things you've gained that are of positive value and let that be a part of you.
Yeah.
And just really focus on the negative habits that can, you know, shut your life down and put you in a bad spot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely tough. I would say it's really not until like owning this business and kind of being forced back into that pressure situation. Being in the relationship that I'm in now, dating who I'm dating now, and everything together of like, I have to step up.
Yeah.
And what's proven to me in my life is that authenticity wins.
That's the key.
And so to pretend like the things that I learned being in the church isn't a part of who I am is not authentic.
Yeah.
Just like the things that I learned out on the streets it's a part of who I am.
Yeah.
The characteristic traits of what I learned on the football field is a part of who I am.
Yeah.
And, you know, coming out of a failed marriage, there were things that I learned about myself. That was the biggest thing going into therapy after the divorce was like, what could I do better without tiptoeing into that line that like, I messed up, so I deserved that.
Yeah.
It was tough to like learn how to take ownership, but not casting blame
Of course.
or putting all of it on me.
And when were you able to like, accept that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't want anyone to have to go through divorce, but if you're going to do it right before a global pandemic where you don't have the bars and the restaurants to distract you. Kind of like we were talking about, like, you know, with apps and stuff and distractions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't have any distractions. And
Now you got to entertain yourself.
This is going to sound like a duh statement, but it's the society we live in. It was amazing what I was able to accomplish within my own head and my own therapy in this recovery process after the divorce when I didn't have distractions.
Oh, dude, I can only imagine.
I mean, if I would have had the bars and the clubs and the parties and stuff.
Spiral.
Yeah. But because of what that particular shutdown was with the social distancing and the things like that, it forced me to be within myself.
Yeah.
And stay with my thoughts. And that was kind of scary at first, but
Yeah.
I was able to actually put in the time into myself that I had never put into before.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel how they do about that whole situation in that time frame, and a lot of negative thoughts, and rightfully so. But
yeah,
see, I mean, that's the cool thing is
we lost people died. Like, it's all terrible and it's tragic. Me specifically, and I try to say this with like empathy.
Yeah.
But I am very grateful for the time that I had during lockdowns.
Yeah.
I needed that within myself.
It forced that self-growth.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a positive to come from that situation when that's specific to you. Like, without sounding not empathetic for other people. Yeah. But for you, it was a positive thing, and it helped your growth, you know, and that's all you can really focus on, because that's all you have at the end of the day.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's an awesome perspective to look at it, man. And being able to eliminate those distractions, because I'm the same way. You know, I went through a pretty hard breakup before I moved to Murfreesboro, lost my house and everything, man. And it was just like distractions were there. And I got like, you know, I was still disciplined in certain ways, but I just had no direction, man, because I was just like, shit, my life just kind of flipped upside down.
Yeah. You can distract yourself with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously there's the common ones of drugs and alcohol, but you can distract yourself with just being busy, going out.
Yeah.
Even if you're not using a substance or what, like, you can use religion as a distraction.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
so many do.
Yeah. So I think that taught me that sometimes it's necessary to take the time to get distraction free and reset every now and then.
Yeah. And just go within.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's scary, man.
It is, dude.
It's scary.
It is scary, man.
Yeah.
Shoot, I've done it like hell after that situation. I told you the relationship, like, I went to the woods a week later and just ate a massive amount of mushrooms. I just forced myself inwards. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go deep because I need to do some self-work. And I tell you what, scary shit, but when you're at the bottom, might as well. What do you got to lose, you know?
Exactly.
And that'll reveal so much about yourself and give you a whole different realization. But a lot of people avoid, you know, even therapy or any kind of even meditation because they don't want to sit in their thoughts.
Yeah. And what you were saying, like it being at the bottom, that's not a terrible mentality to have if you're in a good mindset.
Yeah.
Because like with me and kind of messing up my scholarship and things like that, I didn't care about doing illegal things because I'd already messed everything up.
Yeah.
So like, what was the point? Like, who cares now? I already fucked everything up. I'm not gonna make it to the NFL. I'm not buying my mom a house and a car. Like, then who cares?
Yeah. There's nothing left.
Right.
And that's a toxic. I mean, I think I thought like that
toxic.
at younger years. I think it's, you know, looking back, you're probably like, that's so stupid of me to think that way. You know, like, what do you mean? You got a whole life ahead of you. You just got to re-gear.
Yeah.
But people get so focused on something, but when that's thrown off course.
Yeah. Oh, I went into a full identity crisis of like when you took football away from me, when you took it away from the identity of what I do day to day.
Yeah.
I didn't know who I was because it didn't matter what I was doing illegally while I was playing football. I was being hailed as this overcomer.
Yeah.
So it's almost like I was my reaching out, my call for help wasn't being heard because I was on this pedestal because I was continuing to fight and play. Yeah. But behind closed doors, I was not a role model.
You see that a lot with high level athletes and stuff too, man. They put all their purpose into this one thing.
Yeah.
But like the key is knowing yourself, because if you know who you are, without that, you're good to go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And then the only way I'd known to dealt with anything was cut off that other chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So I was done playing football, and it was like, okay, we'll just cut this off. Now it's like, who am I?
Yeah. You got to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then, so obviously that's led you to now having your gym. So I guess from there you focused on within. So take us through that real quick.
Yeah. I mean, fitness was always a part of it.
Yeah.
I remember a project I had, I think my junior year of college, and it was basically like, the project was, money is no object. Endless budget. You could do any job you would ever want to do. The project is to present the business plan.
Nice.
And it was, I mean, gyms and fitness was all I've ever known.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I started very young with even trying to, like, work out. You know, my dad doing, like, Bo Jackson's push-ups, sit-up, squats, things in the backyard. Like, and it was, I created a gym.
Yeah.
That was my business plan, was a gym. The unique thing about that gym was that it was multi-sport. So it had a big weight room, but it had a turf field. It had a swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it had like any sport that you could imagine.
Yeah.
Of course, it was very elaborate.
Yeah.
It was like in the shape of an H, and you know,
it's on like 50 acres.
yeah. I mean, it was. Oh God, yeah. It was probably, in today's world, doing that anywhere near Nashville, I mean, you're talking $20 million project. Yeah. But I fast forward to, I just never, even though it wasn't ever my main source of income, I enjoyed fitness.
Yeah.
It was the only place that I truly felt like an expert in. In this chapter of my life, the only time that people valued what I had to say as me knowing exactly what I'm talking about because of what I've done. You know, people knowing I played football, knowing how long I've worked out. I'm a competitive strongman athlete. So if it comes to like how to move a barbell in any kind of capacity,
you know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've heard that about you actually. Yeah. Dude knows his shit.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Appreciate that. So then I never stepped away from it, but there was just a weird gym culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was bouncing around from gym to gym doing the strongman thing on Sundays, partnering with different gyms, but things would go weird or different situations. And I was working with a gym over in North Nashville, and it just, they got a terrible shake at things, the COVID and everything else, tornado that went through the neighborhood, like everything, nothing went their way.
Yeah.
And they were going to have to close down. I had the opportunity to take over and finally do things how I wanted to do them.
Yeah.
And I needed some help and kind of approached some of my friends, and the almost without hesitation support that I had in people that were like reassuring me that like, hey, we want to do this for you because we believe in you.
Oh yeah.
Gyms are not, I mean, you've been in gyms.
Yeah.
Gyms are not the most return on investment heavy opportunities you could ever be a part of. But to have that support with everything I've been through, that I now have a culture and a belief system and a support system that are like, we believe in you.
So we're investing in you, not
Right.
the gym. Yeah.
I mean, that took all the pressure off.
Yeah.
And then finally getting into a headspace where I can channel different parts of my life. Now I'm able to channel that part that doesn't get afraid anymore.
Yeah.
I'm able to channel that public speaker that doesn't sound like an idiot speaking in front of people. Yeah, stutterings and the ums, and things like that. But then we're talking, money and numbers that have commas in them.
Yeah.
And if I don't channel a little bit of that inner gangster that was a part of me,
You're like, wait.
that could be really intimidating.
Yeah.
But I've seen numbers like that. It might have been on a different industry.
Still money.
But it didn't scare me then. So channeling a little bit of that allowed me to have the confidence that I have to take this step and kind of create a gym culture that I think the city needed.
Yeah. And that embodies you.
Yes.
You know, that's pretty much you. I mean, you are yourself through it. And so it embodies who you are. And
Authenticity.
yeah, I mean, and that's.
I'm just tired of people kind of fucking up fitness for people.
Dude, we talked about it with Jeff Black, actually, where, you know, the fitness industry is like the most unprofessional as a whole.
Oh, it's terrible.
So much squabbling and bullshit. And
Yeah.
because what, you do this specific type of lifting.
Yeah.
Like I do my thing, but I still think other shit's cool.
You have a level of fitness that can be quantified by what you can put on a barbell and lift that particular barbell, but that's not a ranking system for culture or quality in any kind of capacity.
Well, a lot of people base their whole personality or their value off of how much weight they can lift.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything about their character.
Yeah.
You know, and authenticity and character I'll hold to the highest degree.
But like, in my opinion, asking someone to do fitness with you is asking someone to be vulnerable with you.
Yeah.
And anytime you have someone being vulnerable, there's always that power dynamic and that chance that that's going to be used against you. Mm. And you have so many times, whether it be predatorial behavior, fitness in general, when you have, lack of clothing sometimes.
Yeah.
You got people who don't have the self-control. And when you take someone's vulnerability of them choosing to do fitness with you and you betray that, you mess up that person's relationship with fitness for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
Like, it's bigger than just wanting to, like, get laid one night.
Yeah.
Like, this is a big deal for a lot of people.
It is. It changes their life completely.
And I've been in Nashville my entire life. I've been in fitness or sports my entire life. To the amount of gyms that have either closed or rebranded or something because the owner was having an affair with a member, or the owner's single, or the trainer is single, but bragging about this membership and their community being their own personal Tinder that they're swiping through. Dude. You got trainers that the inappropriate pictures and the things that have happened in this city that we all know about.
I've seen it on the front row, man. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's so wild. But then also we're a city that at one point had 110 people moving here a day.
Yeah.
So you've got people that are being vulnerable, trying to find a new community, a new home. Most of them looking for something that doesn't just involve getting black out on Broadway all the time.
Yeah.
And so everyone's searching for something here. And for them to come here and you to just shit on their vulnerability, I mean, it got hard to deal with. And that was the most, like, one of the things I was looking forward to the most.
Yeah. Was
being able to have an atmosphere where people can trust me, that people can be vulnerable, whether they're my client, whether they're doing a group fitness class or whatever that is wanting to have an atmosphere where people can get vulnerable, because that's where growth happens.
Dude. Yes.
But also wanting, the mission was to bring a hardcore, old school iron facility to the city of Nashville that we don't really have.
And layer that vulnerability on top of it.
It was to set up to create a very safe space. And I don't mean that in the trendy way. I meant that in a way of, like, a lot of times when you look at, like, the Metroflexes and the things like that, where only the elite lifters go.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't feel like they're strong enough to even go there.
Yeah.
But in any other industry, business, you're talking about public speaking, who's talking to who. In business, if you have a room of people that are that much better than you at everything else, you're doing everything you can to get in that room.
Yeah.
But when you add barbells to it, people get intimidated.
Oh, yeah.
So why not have an atmosphere that allows the tools for the elite to continue to get better, but an atmosphere that empowers beginners where this is somewhere they can learn.
Like somebody that can just walk in there for the first time.
The amount of people that have been in front of me and put a barbell on their back for the very first time is so much more fulfilling than how many 600-700 pound deadlifters we have.
Dude, isn't that so cool too? And that's a good way to look at it with the whole business thing. Like you said, you're trying to get in the room, and I love that thought process. I see that here. You know, I told you about, like, my client, and I've had several clients like that. They're like, Joe, like, looking at you, you know, but after having a conversation with you, like, I love coming here, and then it's really cool because they could be so different. Someone that's brand new to it, but they feel comfortable around you as an individual. And that says a lot.
And that's all I've ever tried to do. And so I wanted, when I first said like the term safe space, I really wanted that to be for beginners.
Yeah.
I wanted this to be somewhere where, our advanced strongmen athletes can train. They can deadlift 700 something if they want to, and have a place to do whatever they need to do to make that happen.
Yeah.
But also check their egos that just because you can pick up more off the floor than anybody else doesn't make you better than anyone else. You're just stronger at that particular lift. And that's awesome. And you're going to be celebrated if you're putting in a lot of effort to accomplish that. Yeah. But what's been more rewarding is empowering beginners to not be intimidated by watching that happen.
Nice. If anything, it fires them up.
It does. And so what I've learned how to talk about the community that we have now is that it's a effort-based facility. That even if you can deadlift 600 pounds, but you're doing it effortlessly and no one ever sees you struggling or grinding, okay, there he is deadlifting again. But you could have, someone who's deadlifting over 100 pounds for the first time and it's a grind and they're shaking the whole way up. The whole place stops to cheer that person on. Yeah,
you got the guy doing the heaviest weight.
Yeah.
Encouraging that person.
Exactly.
You know how much that does for them?
Yeah.
Huge.
And it's been so great. And so the amount of beginners and people that have come there to learn has been, I thought at this point in my career, I'd be working with elite advanced athletes only. But working with people that being able to teach them on their beginning is so rewarding because of the impact and how much change you're doing. I'm not just a blip on an athlete's radar that helped them get their bench press up. Yeah. Working with athletes, it's great. It's so transactional. Here's your money, make me stronger.
Yeah.
Whereas people are coming into my facility and like, I want to learn how to do this because of what it can do for me in general in my life.
Yeah.
And this has gotten to the point where the safe space has just grown to like anybody. Now we're just a community of misfits of people that don't feel like they fit in anywhere else, which again starts at the top down. And I put all that pressure on me to be able to be the right beginning for someone for how they want to start fitness and how they want to continue to push themselves. I look at it as I own the umbrella. And as long as they're doing strength at Music City Muscle, it benefits me. It doesn't matter if it's a one-on-one or group fitness or open gym or whatever that is.
Yeah.
If they're doing it there, I reap the reward of that.
Of course.
But now, instead of I don't have to tiptoe that line between client retention and client limitation anymore.
Yeah.
That if I can now take someone who isn't capable of doing group fitness and personal train them and educate them and empower them and mold them to someone who they might be able to get to group fitness one day.
Yeah.
To the point that then I've seen people specifically that I'm thinking about of people that have then left group fitness to do just open gym and writing workouts for them because now they're strongman competitors and the group fitness didn't serve their goals anymore.
That's beautiful.
But they're still doing it here.
Yeah.
So now I'm just walking people down this spectrum.
Yeah.
And now, we've got all different types of people there. Queer friendly, everything. It doesn't matter. When you're there, it doesn't matter what you want to do when you're outside of there. That here, it's about getting stronger.
Yeah, everybody there has that in common. Doesn't matter what their walk of life is.
No.
They all had that same goal.
Exactly. And it's about being yourself. I don't think that you can truly get stronger without truly diving into who you are and feeling comfortable to push yourself. I tell people all the time, you can't, I said it to you earlier. You can't, how can you push your limits if you don't know what your limits are?
Boom.
But you almost have to feel comfortable to be in an atmosphere to push yourself.
Push those limits, yeah, without a doubt. And so you spend a lot of your time building people up. I want to hear more about this. Obviously,
we're gonna have to do a part
we're on
two.
a time crunch, so let's do a part 2.
Okay.
We'll get that in the books.
Okay.
We'll do it soon, and we'll because we could probably talk about that like for
Oh
hours.
yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
You opened up a can there that I could.
Yeah, no, I can tell you're super passionate about
Yeah.
it too. So we're gonna get that back,
I just love helping people.
dude. And I'm the exact same way. There's a lot of similarity between us, so I really have a lot of respect for you, man. I'm grateful for you being here. But since we are coming to close, I got one question.
Okay.
What is your relentless pursuit?
That's a great question. The first thing that comes to mind is the pursuit of changing people's lives for positive.
Oh, yeah.
It's more than just helping people get stronger physically. It is helping people learn how to deal with stress and using what they do in the weight room to mold who they are outside of the weight room. And I had the benefit that I touched a barbell before going through real life trauma, but the majority of the people there experience trauma before ever touching a barbell.
Yeah.
And for that, I can reverse engineer what their life problems are that are holding them back in the weight room and reverse engineering that in a way to help their weight room that then helps their life problems.
Hell yeah, man. Beautifully said. I think that's a perfect relentless pursuit, man. And it seems that you're doing that. I mean, I can tell just from how fired up you get, and I'm stoked to come check out your space, man, and see what you got going on.
Yeah, anytime, dude.
Front row. So,
yeah.
Blake, it's a pleasure having you, man.
Absolutely.
It was an honor, dude. Looking forward to next time, bro.
Yep. Part 2.
Hey, thanks.